The air was crisp. October had arrived. A familiar chill settled in the air, sending a shiver down my spine. The leaves were turning vibrant shades of gold and crimson. Halloween was just around the corner. I, like many others, was caught up in the excitement. The decorations, the costumes, the candy. It was a time for indulging in the macabre. Little did I know, my playful flirtation with the supernatural was about to take a sinister turn. The mundane act of opening my front door would become a pivotal moment. Destiny had a cruel trick up its sleeve, disguised as an unassuming package. The cardboard was cold and slightly damp beneath my fingertips. No return address, no sender's name, just my name scrawled in black marker. My mind raced with possibilities. I shook the box but only heard a muffled thud. I tore open the flaps. A scent of decay greeted me. Inside, an antique mirror. Darkness stirred within it. Beneath, a parchment. Say my name. My heart skipped a beat. A wave of unease washed over me, prickling my skin with goosebumps. The words were both a command and a plea, whispered from some unknown corner of the universe. Who was I supposed to say the name of? And why? Was it all just an elaborate joke, a cruel trick designed to play on my love for all things spooky? I pushed aside the growing sense of dread and forced a laugh. It was just a mirror, I told myself. An old creepy mirror, sure, but a mirror nonetheless. I picked it up, its weight surprisingly heavy in my hands. The silver frame was cold to the touch, sending a shiver down my spine. And then I saw her. It was just a flicker at first. A fleeting glimpse in the periphery of my vision. A pale face with eyes as dark as night, staring back at me from the depths of the mirror. I froze, my breath catching in my throat, but when I turned to look directly at the reflection, it was gone. Had I imagined it? My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I had seen, or thought I had seen. I decided to keep the mirror. After all, it was the perfect finishing touch for my Halloween decorations. But as the days turned into nights, I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was being watched, that I was no longer alone. The mirror held a strange presence. Its ornate frame seemed to absorb the light, casting long, unsettling shadows. I tried to ignore it, thinking it was just my imagination. But the shadows persisted, hinting at something sinister. And then there were the whispers. Soft murmurs like rustling leaves emanated from the mirror. They planted seeds of unease, blossoming into fear. The mirror offered no answers, only reflections of my growing fear. Sleep, once a refuge, became a torment. My dreams were haunted by a girl with long black hair and glowing eyes. Her eyes held a depth of sadness, a silent plea. I would wake in the night, heart pounding, feeling a cold presence. And then one night she appeared, not in my dreams but in the mirror. I was reading, trying to distract myself. A flicker of movement caught my eye. I looked up and my blood ran cold. There, in the mirror, stood the girl from my dreams. She was a tangible presence, as real as my fear. Her skin was pale, her eyes dark pools. Her lips were stained a deep red. She didn't move. She simply stood there, her gaze fixed on mine. I stared back, paralyzed with fear. And then she was gone. The mirror was empty, reflecting my terrified face. I wanted to dismiss it, but deep down, I knew the truth. The mirror was a portal, and the girl, a harbinger of something terrifying. The line between reality and nightmare blurred. The whispers grew louder, the shadows more insistent. The girl in the mirror became a constant presence, always watching, always waiting. I felt her presence in the shadows, in the cold spots, in the prickling sensation on my neck. Each night she drew closer. At first she remained confined to the mirror, but she began to inch closer, her hand reaching out from the glass. I tried to resist her pull. I covered the mirror, turned it to face the wall, but it was no use. She was relentless. Her image appeared in other reflective surfaces. The fear was a living thing inside me now. I was losing my grip on reality. And through it all, those haunting whispers persisted. Say her name, they hissed. Sleep offered no escape. My dreams became vivid, visceral experiences that left me gasping for air and drenched in a cold sweat. I dreamt of a girl running through a dark forest, pursued by shadows with torches and cruel smiles. Her ragged dress was torn and stained with dirt. Her long dark hair streamed behind her as she ran. The shadows always gained on her, their laughter echoing through the trees. I felt her fear, tasted the metallic tang of it in the back of my throat. It was as if I was experiencing these events firsthand. The forest floor was littered with fallen leaves. The air was thick with the scent of burning wood and flesh. Then they caught her. I watched, helpless, as they dragged her into a clearing. They bound her hands behind her back, her screams echoing through the trees. They built a pyre, the flames reaching up towards the darkening sky. And then, I saw her face. It was my face, reflected in the flames. The girl, the dream, it was all connected to me. The flames roared, consuming everything, and I woke up screaming. It was a dream, I told myself, just a dream, but deep down, a terrifying thought took root. What if it wasn't a dream at all? What if it was a memory? The name echoed in the silence of my apartment, a whisper from beyond the grave. It clung to the shadows, danced on the edges of my vision, and pulsed in my veins like a dark, forbidden melody. Say her name, the whispers urged, their voices growing stronger with each passing day. Say her name, and she will be free. I knew it was a dangerous game they were playing, these voices from the other side, but curiosity, like a moth drawn to a flame, consumed me. One night, as the full moon cast long, eerie shadows across my bedroom floor, I stood before the antique mirror. The girl's reflection shimmered in its depths, her eyes, two bottomless pools of darkness, seemed to beckon me closer. I took a deep breath and whispered the name, my voice trembling with a mixture of fear and morbid fascination. The air crackled with energy. The mirror's surface rippled as if disturbed by an unseen wind. And then, the girl smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Her lips stretched wide, revealing rows of sharp, pointed teeth, and her eyes blazed with a cold, malevolent light. Terror surged through me. I stumbled backward, my heart pounding, but it was too late. I had spoken her name, unleashing something terrible. The whispers ceased, replaced by a deafening silence. And then the screams began. They echoed through the apartment, filled with agony. But they were not my screams. I watched in horror as the mirror's surface swirled, the girl's reflection dissolving into a vortex of darkness. And then, she was gone. The mirror was empty, but I knew better. The air was thick with a malevolent energy, a palpable sense of dread that clung to me. The screams continued, fading now, echoing down a long, dark corridor. I felt a sharp pain in my chest, a searing agony that took my breath away. I clutched at my heart, my fingers digging into my flesh. And then I saw her. She stood in the shadows just beyond the reach of the moonlight that spilled through the window. The girl from the mirror, no longer confined to its depths. Her eyes, once filled with sadness, now blazed with an unholy light. Her skin, pale before, now shimmered with an unnatural iridescence, and her lips, those blood-red lips, were curved into a cruel, triumphant smile. She took a step toward me, and I felt a cold dread seep into my bones. It was as if a part of her had become intertwined with my own being, a dark parasite feeding on my fear, my curiosity, my very essence. My reflection in the mirror no longer showed my own face, but a grotesque distortion, a flickering image of the girl and I, merging, becoming one. I reached out, my fingers brushing against hers, and a jolt of electricity shot through me. There was power in this connection, a dark, seductive power that promised oblivion from the fear that had consumed me. Section 4. The gathering darkness, no longer alone. The screams were gone, replaced by whispers, slithering into my mind like venomous snakes. They were thanking me. My hands shimmered in the moonlight, veins pulsing with an unnatural light. My reflection was a blend of the girl and I. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices. I realized I was not the only one. The girl from the mirror was just the beginning. There were countless others, trapped in the shadows. By speaking her name, I had opened a portal. Section 1. The spreading taint. The curse manifests. The world tilted, reality fracturing around the edges. Colors seemed too bright, sounds amplified, assaulting my senses. My reflection in shop windows was no longer my own. My eyes, once warm brown, now flickered with an unsettling inner light, reflecting the girl's bottomless black. People on the street recoiled as I passed, an instinctive fear twisting their features. Even animals, stray dogs and pigeons, sensed the change, fleeing from my presence with whimpers and frantic flaps of wings. The whispers were a constant now, no longer confined to the shadows. They swirled around me, a chorus of voices, each whispering fragments of their stories, their pain, their rage. The city, once familiar and comforting, now pulsed with unseen menace. Section 2. Seeking sanctuary, finding despair, a city of ghosts. Desperate for sanctuary, I sought solace in the crowded spaces, hoping to lose myself in the anonymity of the masses. But the crowds offered no comfort. Everywhere I looked, I saw glimpses of the girl's face superimposed on those around me. The tired cashier at the grocery store, the businessman rushing down the street, the laughing children playing in the park. Their eyes, their smiles, held a chilling familiarity, the echo of the girl's malevolent joy. The whispers intensified, urging me toward a destination unknown. I felt an irresistible pull, drawing me toward the outskirts of the city, to a desolate industrial district where shadows stretched long and unbroken in the fading light. Warehouses loomed like silent sentinels, their windows dark and empty, their silence heavy with unseen menace. Panic welled up inside me, a suffocating wave of fear and helplessness. I was no longer in control, my body merely a vessel for the will of the spirits that now resided within me. Driven by a force I couldn't comprehend, I found myself drawn to a dilapidated bookstore, its windows caked with grime, the sign above hanging precariously from a single rusty chain. The door creaked open at my touch, releasing a musty odor of decay and forgotten things. Dust motes danced in the feeble light filtering through the grimy windows. The whispers led me deeper into the labyrinthine aisles, past shelves overflowing with ancient-looking tomes bound in leather and iron. My fingers brushed against brittle pages, each one filled with cryptic symbols and faded ink, the remnants of forgotten languages and forbidden knowledge. And then, I saw it. A book, no larger than my hand, bound in what looked like human skin. Its pages were filled with intricate diagrams and chilling illustrations, scenes of ritual sacrifice, of demonic invocations, of souls bound and tormented. The whispers reached a fever pitch as I touched the book, their voices merging into a single triumphant cry. This was no ordinary book. This was a grimoire, a book of shadows, a chronicle of the curse that now held me captive. The book fell from my grasp, its pages scattering across the dusty floor. I stumbled back, clutching at my head, trying to shut out the images flooding my mind, the screams echoing in my ears, but it was too late. The knowledge, once glimpsed, could not be unseen. I was no longer just haunted by the girl in the mirror, I was haunted by all of them, by the countless souls trapped within the pages of that book, their stories woven into the very fabric of my being. I felt their pain, their rage, their insatiable hunger for vengeance, and they were watching me. I could feel their gaze upon me, a weight pressing down on my chest, stealing my breath. They were everywhere, in the shadows, in the reflections, in the very air I breathed. The grimoire's knowledge burned within me, a toxic fire spreading through my veins. I understood now. I wasn't just haunted, I was a conduit, a bridge between worlds for the vengeful spirits clinging to me. Their whispers, their demands, their agony, it all pulsed within me, a symphony of suffering that threatened to shatter my sanity. There had to be a way to break free. The book spoke of severing ties, of banishing the spirits back to the darkness from whence they came, but the rituals were complex, requiring ingredients I barely understood. Graveyard dirt, the blood of a willing sacrifice, a name whispered at the crossroads under a blood moon. Each option felt like a descent deeper into the abyss, a surrender to the very forces I was trying to escape. Fire. The thought blazed through my mind, a beacon of primal hope. Fire cleansed, purified, reduced everything to its basic elements. Section 2. Ashes to Ashes. The ritual begins. Fueled by hope, I searched for anything supernatural. The lace from the box, the strange trinkets, a child's doll with lifelike eyes, all were consumed by the flames. The air grew thick with smoke, stinging my eyes. The screams intensified, promising power if I stopped, but I pressed on. As the journal burned, pain shot through my hand. A mark appeared, mirroring the book's symbol. It glowed infernally, the heat intense. The whispers turned to laughter, echoing through the room. Section 3. Unholy Relics. The curse multiplies. Panic seized me. The flames, once a beacon of hope, now represented the horrifying truth. I was feeding the very entity I was trying to escape. The whispers confirmed it, their tone shifting from demanding to amused, almost patronizing. They spoke of a lineage, of a ritual passed down through generations, a chain of souls bound together by fear and suffering. As the last of the box burned, revealing a hidden compartment beneath, a wave of nausea washed over me. Nestled within were dozens of smaller boxes, each one identical to the one I had received, each one with a name scrawled on it, handwriting varying from elegant script to childish scrawl. The whispers became a cacophony of voices, a chorus of despair and rage. I saw flashes of their lives, their deaths, a soldier on a battlefield, a priestess burned at the stake, a child drowned in a river. Section 4. The Escape, a futile attempt. There was only one option left: flight. Maybe if I could put enough distance between myself and these cursed objects, these whispers, I could outrun the inevitable. It was a fool's hope, but it was all I had left. I fled my apartment, the whispers chasing me down the hallway, echoing in the stairwell. The city streets were a blur of light and shadow, the faces of strangers distorted, their eyes reflecting the same hunger I felt growing within me. I ran until my lungs burned, until my legs screamed for mercy, but the whispers only grew louder, urging me onward. A train station materialized out of the urban sprawl, a beacon of escape. I stumbled onto the first train leaving the city, not caring about the destination, only seeking distance from the nightmare I was leaving behind. As the train rattled through the darkness, I pressed my forehead against the cool glass, watching the city lights fade into the distance. The train station stood alone, swallowed by a thick, unnatural fog. The air was heavy, filled with whispers, my constant companions. A cloying sweetness hung in the air, masking decay. The station was eerily silent. No bustling crowds, no announcements, no vendors. Only my heart pounded a frantic drumbeat. The whispers urged me forward, a unified chorus. I stepped off the platform into the swirling fog. Each breath tasted like fear and something ancient. The station lights flickered and died, plunging me into darkness. The whispers guided me, their tone almost soothing. I stumbled through the darkness, my hand brushing against cold metal. The ground changed from concrete to packed earth. The whispers led me deeper, where reality frayed. Fear warred with anticipation, a certainty of witnessing something profound. I emerged from the suffocating embrace of the fog into a clearing bathed in the pale, ethereal glow of a full moon. The whispers softened, replaced by an expectant hush. A circle of towering trees ringed the clearing, their branches forming a canopy. The air crackled with unseen energy, ancient and powerful. Remnants of past rituals, charred patches of earth, animal bones bleached white, and strange symbols carved into tree trunks. The air hummed with echoes of sacrifices, a symphony of suffering. A bonfire blazed, casting grotesque shadows. The flames burned with an unnatural intensity. I felt myself drawn towards the fire, guided by whispers. Figures emerged from the shadows, their forms shifting, their faces hidden, but I felt their eyes upon me. They moved with an unnatural grace like predators. The whispers intensified, a physical presence pressing in. They spoke of a debt, a sacrifice to appease the ancient ones, the entities that ruled this dark realm. The figures from the shadows formed a circle around the bonfire, their movements precise and ritualistic. They chanted in unison, their voices echoing through the clearing, a chilling melody that seemed to seep into my bones. One by one, they stepped forward, each figure carrying a box identical to the one that had set me on this path. Each box was slightly different, the wood weathered and worn, the carvings unique, yet all bearing the same aura of malice. I understood then, with a clarity that chilled me to my core. This was not the end of the curse, but the beginning. The figures placed their boxes on the ground around the bonfire, forming a smaller circle within the larger one. The air grew thick with anticipation, the whispers reaching a fever pitch as the figures stepped back, their eyes fixed on the boxes, on the flames, on me. I felt a pull towards the boxes, a compulsion to open them, to unleash whatever darkness they held within. The figures parted slightly, creating a path towards the bonfire, towards the boxes, towards my destiny. The flames danced and swirled, their light reflecting off the polished surfaces of the boxes, revealing my own reflection distorted and fragmented. I was a vessel, a conduit, a link in a chain of suffering that stretched back centuries. The whispers reached a crescendo, urging me forward, their voices echoing the words carved into the lid of each box. "Open us!" And as I reached for the nearest box, my hand trembling with a mixture of fear and anticipation, I knew that there was no turning back. The heat of the bonfire washed over me, a searing embrace that scorched away the last vestiges of my resistance. The whispers, a unified chorus, urged me onward, their melody intoxicating, seductive. My fingers closed around the latch of the nearest box. It was cold, unyielding, yet pulsed with a life of its own. Doubt whispered warnings, turn back, flee, this path leads only to oblivion, but the whispers promised power, belonging, an end to torment. Their words resonated deep within me. With a shuddering breath I lifted the lid. The scent was not of decay but of a cloying sweetness. It filled my senses, overwhelming, intoxicating. The whispers became a symphony of pleasure. The figures surrounding the bonfire swayed in unison. There was no mirror, only a swirling vortex of darkness. It pulsed with a life of its own, beckoning me closer. And in that moment, I surrendered. The fear evaporated, replaced by a chilling sense of rightness. This was my fate, my destiny. I was meant to embrace the darkness. The figures closed in, their forms shifting, becoming less distinct. The darkness surged, tendrils wrapping around me. My scream died, replaced by a strangled gasp. Shadows pulled me towards the vortex. My reflection was a monster. My eyes glowed, my skin stretched, the mark on my hand burned. The whispers echoed, "This is who you are." The world dissolved into a swirling vortex. Whispers wove memories, lives lived, loves lost, all culminating in this moment. I was a vessel for countless souls, their anger and despair flowing through me. This was my legacy, my curse. Time lost all meaning. I drifted within the vortex, whispers and shadows merging with countless souls. I witnessed their lives, their deaths, their pain. Slowly, the darkness began to recede. I was drawn towards a pinpoint of light. I gasped, my eyes flying open. I was lying on a cold, hard surface. Above me, a full moon peeked through the branches. Memory returned in a rush of horror and despair. The clearing, the bonfire, the boxes, the whispers. It had not been a dream. I sat up, my body aching, my mind reeling. Beside me lay a single box polished to a high gloss, the name carved into the lid barely visible in the moonlight. I knew what I would find inside, but it was no longer fear that gripped me. It was a sense of purpose, of duty. The whispers had faded, but their legacy remained. I was the keeper of the curse, the guardian of their pain. As I reached for the box, a single tear rolled down my cheek. It was not my name, but it would be soon enough. The cycle continues.